Okay, as I was saying, when I rewrite this, I'm going to have negative 3 plus 8 plus 3. So I'm taking 3 away, I'm adding 8, and I'm adding 3. The final score says that positives win, so my answer is positive by 8. Positives win by 8. All right, the next problem. A submarine is traveling at a depth of 220 feet below sea level. How deep is the submarine if it raises 35 feet? So first, if it's at a depth of 220 feet below sea level, we're going to represent that as negative 220. How deep is the submarine if it raises 35 feet? If it raises 35 feet, I'm going to add 35 because it's going up. Now, if I make a scoreboard, I'm taking away 220 and I'm adding 35. Negatives win by how much? Let's see, 220 minus 35. I have to borrow again. I'm going to get negatives win by 185. However, I never want to say negative feet below sea level. So instead of writing negative 185, I'm going to write 185 feet below sea level. You don't want to write negative feet. The below sea level tells you the direction. Okay, a worm is wiggling at a depth of 15 feet underground. Since the worm is underground, I'm going to represent the depth as negative 15. The worm burrows downward an additional 7 feet underground. So since the worm is going down, we're going to subtract 7 more feet. What is the new depth of the worm? So we're going to make a scoreboard. Looks like I'm taking away 15 and I'm taking away 7 more. So total, the negatives win by 22, which means that the worm is 22 feet underground. Now, I'm not going to say negative 22 because it's feet. We don't say negative distance. We're going to say 22 feet underground, and the underground part is what tells you that there was a negative. All right, next page. All right. Death Valley at 282 feet below sea level has the lowest land elevation in the United States. Mount McKinley, with an elevation of 20,320 feet above sea level, has the highest land elevation in the United States. What is the difference in elevation between Death Valley and Mount McKinley? Hint, draw a picture. Now, what people want to do, and this is the wrong way, is people see that we're going to find the difference and they start subtracting the numbers from the problem. And they arrive at the answer, I don't know, something like that. What we're going to do instead is we're going to draw a picture. So here's Mount McKinley at a positive 20,320 feet above sea level. And here's Death Valley at a negative 282 feet. So if we were going to subtract, it's actually going to look like 20,320 minus negative 282. We're subtracting a negative. And when you subtract a negative, what you're really doing is adding. Now, another way of showing you this is let's put you on the top of Mount McKinley. How far would you have to travel to get to sea level? You'd have to travel 20,320 feet. How far more would you have to travel to get into Death Valley? You'd have to travel 282 more feet. So total, you're going to add these together, and you realize that you have to travel a total of 20,700 20,602 feet. Let's see, 20,602, which was not my original answer when I did it the wrong way. Okay. The boiling point of nitrogen gas is negative 320 degrees Fahrenheit. The boiling point of oxygen gas is 23 degrees greater than the boiling point of nitrogen gas. What is the boiling point of oxygen gas? So we're going to start at nitrogen, which is negative 320. And oxygen is 23 degrees greater. Since it's greater, we're going to add 23. Let's make a scoreboard. Negatives win. By how much? And remember, if I'm going too fast at any point, you can pause the video. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The temperature, okay, so the answer is negative 297. Sorry about the blip. The temperature recorded at 6 o'clock a.m. was negative 3 degrees. 6 hours later, the temperature increased by 18. So I'm going to add 18. So let's see, if it was negative 3 and I'm adding 18, the positives win. By how much? By 15. The answer is 15 degrees. In the United States, the largest recorded temperature change over a 24-hour period was in Loma, Montana on January 15, 1972. The temperature increased from negative 54 degrees Fahrenheit to 49 degrees Fahrenheit. What was the temperature difference? Hint, draw a picture of the thermometer with the two temperatures. I will. Here's the thermometer with 0. One of the temperatures is negative 54, and the other one is 49. Now, what a lot of people like to do is they like to subtract the two. This is wrong. I'll show you the wrong way. They like to do 54 minus 49, and they get 5. So they think the answer is like 5, or they think the answer is negative 5, and it's not. Because if you look at these two temperatures, there's a big difference. If you were here on the thermometer, here I'm going to put you right here. To get down to 0, you'd have to travel 49 degrees. And then to get further down to negative 54, you'd have to travel another 54 degrees. So that means you'd have to travel 103 degrees total. And that's because if you're finding the difference between those, you're not doing 49 minus 54. That's not what you're doing. You're doing 49 minus negative 54, which means what you're really doing is adding the two distances together. All right, next page. The highest temperature ever recorded on Earth was 134 degrees in Death Valley, California in 1913. The lowest temperature ever recorded was negative 129 degrees Fahrenheit in Vostok Station, Antarctica in 1983. What is the difference between these two temperatures? Okay, I'm drawing a picture. One of the temperatures is 134. The other temperature is negative 129. I'm putting myself here on the thermometer. To travel down to 0 degrees, I'd have to travel 134 degrees. To travel even further to negative 129, I'd have to travel another 129. So I'm going to add these two distances on the thermometer together, and I get 263 degrees. Another way of doing that is not doing 1